Welcome in to Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Right now, we're going to be talking about the Jaguars' top questions facing the team entering Week 17. 2 weeks remaining in the regular season. 2 divisional contests left for your Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to take a look, again, top questions facing this team entering the final 2 weeks of the regular season. First, I'd like to remind you to hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube. You can also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a show. If you're listening to us in podcast form, go ahead and review, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Really helps the show out. Thank y'all so much for your support. Couldn't be doing this without y'all. Quite literally. So, top questions facing your Jaguars. How will Doug Peterson handle this week? It's an interesting week for the Jaguars. Because if you're talking about the division race, the AFC South race, the Jaguars have nothing to play for in Week 17. Specifically, if you're talking about only the division, right? If the Jags lose against the Texans and the Titans win their Week 17 matchup against the Cowboys, has zero impact on the division race. For the Jaguars to win the division, all they have to do is beat Tennessee. That's it. But if you're talking about the wild card that the Jaguars are technically still alive for, the path to that is not as crazy as you would think. So to get into a wild card spot without winning the division, without beating Tennessee in Week 18, the Jaguars need some things to fall into place. And Bill Barnwell over at ESPN did a great job laying this out. So the Jags, they need to, if they're going to just make the wild card and not win the division, which is obviously not the goal. But in this scenario, if you're going to make the wild card, you beat Houston, you lose to Tennessee, you need the Dolphins to lose out, and it looks like the Dolphins might be without Tua for the rest of the season with the concussion situation, so might not be all that crazy for that to happen, and they've been trending in the wrong direction anyways. The Jets would need to lose to the Seahawks. That seems possible. Maybe a 50-50 coin flip there if Mike White is able to return, which he has been cleared for contact for the Jets. The Bills would have to beat the Patriots, which that seems reasonable. And the Steelers would need to lose one of their final 2 contests. Again, reasonable. Now, that is a lot of things that need to happen for the Jaguars to get in as a wild card, right? You need the Dolphins to lose out. You need the Jets to beat the Seahawks. You need the Bills to beat the Patriots and the Steelers to lose one of their final 2 games. All of those things could happen. Is it likely that all of them happen in succession, all of them happen together without, this is like betting on a parlay, right? But the point of all this is not to say that the Jaguars should be hopeful to earn a wild card spot, because if they get a wild card spot, A, it's going to rely on a lot of luck with all these other different scenarios taking place. B, you're going to have to play on the road in Week 1 of the playoffs. So the goal here needs to be to beat Tennessee in Week 18 to win the division, right? To win the AFC South and then host a home playoff game against a team that there's a good chance you've already beaten that team. When you talk about the 2 teams right now that are 5-6 in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers. So I think winning the division is clearly the easiest path forward. It's the best path forward. You've already beaten the Titans once. Now, the Jags have not swept the Titans since 2005. It has been a really, really long time, unfortunately, for the Jaguars here. But I think it's doable right now. You talk about how the Titans are playing, how the Jaguars are playing. It's at home in front of a home crowd that should be raucous for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Going to be one of the biggest games in recent memory for this franchise. And so, I think it's very doable to just go get the job done in Week 18. But the question here is, how do you handle Week 17? And for me, the answer is you go into this game against the Houston Texans and you go in there and you prepare to win this football game. Because do you want to give yourself the most or the best chances possible of making the playoffs? Yes, you do. And beating the Houston Texans gives you the best chances possible because, if you lose to the Titans and you lose to the Texans, you're not going to make it. That's it. Stick a fork in you. So I think you need to go try to win both of these games. Now, Would I potentially have a plan in place to take the starters out at a certain point if the Jaguars are doing well in this game? Sure. I don't think you want to have players out there unnecessarily. But you need to go into this game against the Houston Texans at Houston, a team who you haven't beaten since 2017. You need to go into this game and look at it as a must-win, in my opinion. Now, again, if you get up by multiple scores, you're feeling good about it, I understand if you want to take the starters out. Make sure they're healthy for Week 18. Make sure they're healthy for a potential playoff run. I think if you decided to rest your starters against the Texans this week, you're counting your eggs before they hatch a little bit. Counting their chickens before they hatch. I don't think that that's a good way to play it. I think you need to try to win both of these football games if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. But how will Doug handle it? I think that's going to be interesting. I'm interested to find out how Doug Peterson does handle this situation. Because, again, if the Jaguars lose to the Texans, it has no impact on the division race. They still just need to beat the Titans in Week 18. So if you just wanted to go all in on Week 18, I could kind of understand looking at it that way. But that's not how I look at it, because I think you give yourself the most chances to make the playoffs by trying to beat the Texans in Week 17. You look at it that way, and then it's also just a division matchup against a team you haven't beaten in 5 years. Like, you need to get that off your back. You need to get that monkey off your back if you're this Jaguars team. And that would be one of the last, whatever you want to look at it as, a curse or a streak or whatever it is. You know, the Jaguars, they broke their NFC streak, their losing streak to the NFC. They broke their losing streak on the road. They've done a lot of that this year, kind of overcoming the past. I think beating the Texans is another thing that they need to do to kind of put the past to bed, if you will. So how will Doug handle this week with the starters, with the health of the players? It'll be really interesting. I think that he's going to go about it the way I'm talking about it, where you go in, you try to win this football game, but you have a plan in place for if you get up big and you want to get your guys out of there. The second question facing the Jaguars for me is, has the defense turned a corner, right? Jags defense has been playing a lot better lately. They've been getting the job done. In 4 of their last 5 wins, they've forced multiple turnovers. And in fact, over the last 5 games, they have forced 10 total turnovers. They've forced at least 2 turnovers in each of their last 4 wins. 4 wins in 5 games for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've forced at least 2 turnovers in each of those games. So has the defense turned a corner? In a way, I believe it has. I think when you look at what the defense is doing in terms of their ability to get their hands on the football, their ability to affect the pocket, and their ability to force turnovers, yeah, I think they have turned a corner. Are they some defense that's going to go out and shut teams out or slow teams down for the entire game, or, you know, win a game where you have to win it 13-10? Probably not. But when you have an offense rolling, how the Jaguars offense is rolling, how Trevor Lawrence is playing, Doug Peterson calling the plays, all the skill positions getting the job done on that side of the ball, maybe a defense that just bends but doesn't break all that often, a defense that forces turnovers, maybe that's good enough for now. Maybe that's good enough to get the Jaguars in the playoffs and you know, see where the chips fall after that point. I don't think this is a defense that you can feel good about long-term going into 2023. There's clearly some things that need to be changed. You need some more talent. You need some more personnel in certain spots, no doubt about it. But have they turned a little bit of a corner when it comes to being able to pressure the pocket, being able to force turnovers, and being able to make big plays when they need to make big plays? Yeah, you've seen a lot of that over the last month plus for this Jacksonville Jaguars defense. So they have turned a bit of a corner, but they're not all of a sudden a really good defense. They're an opportunistic defense that can turn you over and they can get some pressure on the quarterback and generally play pretty decent against the run. So I think that's where the Jaguars defense is at right now. It's not all of a sudden some gangbusters top 10 defense in the NFL. But it's an opportunistic defense that can do some things for you. And paired with Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson in this Jaguars offense, I think you could do worse. The next question for the Jaguars, how are they doing without Cam Robinson? Like, is Walker Little going to be able to hold up at left tackle starting, for Cam Robinson in this late stretch for the Jaguars? Is Walker Little going to hold up at left tackle? I think the answer is yes, right? He had to come in for Cam Robinson and Jawan Taylor against the Cowboys, and he played admirably. It wasn't perfect, but he did his part overall and didn't allow a sack. Last week, I think, another tough matchup was going up against Carl Lawson and some of those other Jets edge players quite a bit. Was it perfect? No. Was it really pretty? No. But was it good enough? Yeah, like it was good enough. Trevor Lawrence is a really good quarterback when it comes to pocket presence and knowing where pressure is coming from. So I don't think Walker Little being in the starting lineup instead of Cam Robinson, who has officially been placed on IR with that meniscus injury, and prayers up for him. Hopefully he can recover as quickly as possible. But is Walker Little being in the lineup going to break this Jaguars offense? Is it going to make them unable to execute? I don't think so. And so I think that they're going to be just fine at left tackle. When you talk about Doug Peterson understanding that little bit of a deficiency, Trevor Lawrence understanding that little bit of a deficiency, and Trevor being so good, as I mentioned, in the pocket. My fourth question: how's the defensive line perform? Now, you've got DeJuan Smoot out for the rest of the year and probably going to be out for some of the start of 2023, whether that's if he's playing for the Jaguars or not, we don't know because he's on the final year of his contract, but he's out. And, just like Cam, prayers up for DeJuan. Want him to get back healthy and get his career back going here because he's a talented player, rotational player in this league. But the Jaguars, will they be getting Trayvon Walker back, who's missed 2 games? Foley Fatukasi missed last week. If you look at losing DeJuan Smoot, you hate that. But if you can get Trayvon Walker back and Foley Fatukasi back, who are both dealing with ankle injuries, will that be enough to overcome the loss of DeJuan Smoot? I tend to believe it will be when you just look at getting Foley back and getting Trayvon back and what they can bring to the field for the Jaguars, some of the different things they can do and upgrade this defensive line. The defensive line is certainly better with those 2 players on the field. Will they be able to continue the way they've been playing over the last few weeks without DeJuan Smoot? I think getting Trayvon and Foley back would go a long way towards that. We have not gotten confirmation that they will be back, but that will certainly be something to monitor. Will getting them back, and if they get them back, will it be enough to overcome the loss of DeJuan Smoot? That's a big question for me. Finally, can the Jaguars actually beat the Texans? 9 straight losses to the Houston Texans. Trevor, he's 0-3 against the Texans. This is a team that runs more cover 2 than anyone else in the league, and it's something that the cover 2 that the Texans have run, it's given Trevor Lawrence a lot of trouble throughout the first year and a half of his career so far, right? And Lovie Smith is a veteran coach. This is a defense that's playing really, really hard right now. They took the Cowboys to the brink. They took the Chiefs to the brink. They just beat the Titans. They've, again, beaten the Jaguars every time they've played since 2017. It's going to be tougher than people think. And when I say tougher than people think, I say that from a physicality standpoint in this game, from an X's and O's standpoint in this game. Look, Trevor Lawrence over the course of this season has shown that he can beat cover 2 in this league. He can beat any defense you throw at him. But he still has not beaten the Texans. He still has not overcome Lovie Smith's cover 2 defense that they executed at a high level. This is another step for these Jaguars, another one of those things. Get the monkey off your back, break the streak, break the curse, whatever you want to say about it. And I think that if they're able to go out there and beat the Texans this week, that would represent a huge monkey off their back, a huge weight off their shoulders, and maybe a huge weight off the shoulders of the fans, even more than the actual players. So, yeah, I think ending your losing streak to the Texans and ending the Titans season over the next 2 weeks while simultaneously punching your own ticket, how sweet would that be? Can the Jaguars actually do it? We'll find out in a few days here when the Jaguars travel to Houston to take on the Texans next Sunday, Week 17. But those are my top questions facing the Jaguars here as they enter Week 17. How will Doug handle this week, knowing that they don't necessarily need to win this game, but it would help their playoff odds if they do win this game, if they're somehow able to sneak in the back door as a wild card team. So just how Doug handles that situation, I think, is going to be fascinating. Has the defense turned a corner? I think that they have in a way in terms of forcing turnovers, getting pressure, playing aggressive, being opportunistic, but they're still not a great defense by any stretch, maybe not even a good defense in terms of just being able to stop the opponent. How's Walker Little looking? How is he able to hold up over the next 2 games? I think that's going to be huge for this Jaguars team. My take is that it looks like he's playing well enough to not be completely debilitating for this offense. And then, again, the defensive line will the Jags get Trayvon Walker back, Foley Fatukasi back. They're out. They're without DeJuan Smoot for the rest of the year, so you really need those guys to come back, and you need them to play well. Trayvon and Foley both dealing with those ankles. And then, again, can the Jaguars finally beat the damn Texans? 9 straight losses. You got to get it done. Get off the schneid here if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. Get yourself in position to make the 2022 playoffs. And again, you want to beat Tennessee. That is the biggest game left on the schedule, obviously. You beat Tennessee, you are into the playoffs, you are hosting a wild card game, and you're the AFC South champions. So that'll do it here. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval. Again, could not be doing this without y'all. Your support means the world to me. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan Lugo, Generation Jag, or at Generation Jag. You can also check out our channel membership here on YouTube. Link in the description below. You can also check out genjag.com. Pick up some new Duval gear. You can support the channel that way. Again, thank you so much for your support, Duval. Have a great Tuesday.